The year I became president was a centennial Rotary, or the prior year was a centennial year, and the Rotary International Conference was in Chicago. And it was a centennial event. And we went, Jerry and we had a marvelous time in Chicago. And while there, we got to tour the RI offices. And while we were there, Jerry and I found ourselves in the office of the president of RI by ourselves, wandering around, looking around. So we looked in the drawers and the cabinets to see what was in there. And lo and behold, we found this unique telephone and didn't know really quite what it was. So we did a little searching and looking, and turns out that was a telephone that the RI president used to contact Paul Harris in heaven.
Amazing.
And there it was, right there in our hands. We realized, oh my gosh, what is this? Well, I didn't think much more about it. Well, when we got home, opened my suitcase, there was the phone in my suitcase. Well, how did it get in my suitcase when I got... My dear wife, Jerry, she knew I needed all the help I could get in my Rotary year. So surely she had something to do with getting this phone into my suitcase. So it dawned on me, well, maybe I could use it, call Paul Harris for some advice. So I decided that my very first meeting, I would do that. So lo and behold, I tested the phone at my very first meeting, dialed up Paul Harris in heaven, and much to my surprise, he answered.
Oh my gosh.
And not only did he answer, he was charming and entertaining. We had a grand time talking on the phone and talking about all kinds of things. I don't even remember what, but a lot of fun things. The club got a lot of laughs out of it. I remember a few things. We had an ambassadorial scholar was to my right, and she was our guest speaker for the day. And lo and behold, Paul Harris divined that she was there, and he asked me to deliver a high five to her, which I did, which was quite fun and amazing to the young lady that she would get a high five from Paul Harris. The other thing that I did in that first meeting that I'm kind of proud of is I had noticed that in years past, sometimes the meetings ended in just kind of unceremoniously, and I know a lot of important things were said during the meetings that people forgot. You know, they didn't make notes or anything. So I thought it was important to recap. So at the end of the meeting, I said to wrap up, and I recounted. Summary.
Yeah.
Mentioned the birthday people and mentioned this meeting for that. And there's a meeting for that. And don't forget about this and all these things. And I thought, and that stood the test of time. I'm proud of that.
Carried on.
That's carried on. And the other thing I did in my first meeting, well, the first 100 years of Rotary had just ended. So I thought, why don't we end the meeting with a toast to the next 100 years of Rotary? So I did that. So I asked the club to stand up and end the meeting with a toast to the next 100 years of Rotary. And that was wonderful. And that was a great way to end the meeting, and everyone stood up and then went off their own direction. And it dawned on me two things. A, what a great way to end the meeting. Get everybody on their feet. Number two, focus them on some positive message, something positive. I mean, and so I said, well, we can do that the rest of the year. Why don't we do that every meeting? So that's what I did. I started that tradition of ending the meeting with a toast.